everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we're really excited today. We are here to talk with a costume designer. It's very exciting. Only our second costume designer interview of the podcast. We're talking with costume designer Kelsey Garcia. And Kelsey, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so this is your first time on the podcast. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about how you got started in this field.
Um, so I got started, I think I was like 19 and I was working retail and a reality TV show came into my job and I was just there and my coworker was like, "Hey, she's a film student." And so they hired me to PA on different reality TV shows. And so I
Oh,
did that. Yeah, I did that all through college. And then when I graduated, I took a job on a TV show as the second assistant director. And the first assistant director hired me on another job after as a PA, and she was like, she hired me as a PA, and I asked her, "Can I be a costume PA? Because I think I want to get into costumes." And she was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And I've just been doing costumes ever since, and I love
were
it.
you in school for film?
Yes, so I went to
Okay.
school for film and art history,
Oh, okay.
two degrees, and I want to go back and do a master's in fashion history so I can get some like period pieces going.
Yeah. So did you always have an interest in fashion and interest in costume design?
I think so. Ever since I was a little kid, I would just always be like very interested in outfits and
Uh-huh.
like trends, and I'd always be like a little kid wearing like these different like fun hats and doing crazy stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I just didn't really care what other people thought about it, and I was just like, I'm just gonna wear like what I think. And my whole life, my mom was like, "Oh, you need to be a personal stylist. Like you need to be a celebrity stylist."
Yeah.
And I really thought I was like, "Yeah, whatever, mom." And then in like high school, I wanted to really get into music videos. I loved music
Uh-huh.
videos and like the creativity behind them.
Oh, that's
And I'm
cool.
like, yeah, I was like, I'm gonna go to film school and like make music videos. And then I just kind of fell back into costumes. I was like, I'm gonna do clothes.
That's interesting. Did you have a particular genre or band that you especially liked?
In high school, I mean, anyone who went to high school with me would know that I loved 21 Pilots at the time.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
huge fan. Them also for music videos sake, I loved OK Go. They have the
Okay.
craziest music videos. They always have. And I just love the storytelling aspect of music videos and like
Uh-huh.
how quick they are. And it felt also very accessible that you didn't have
Yeah.
to have connections really. And I had a lot of friends who like made music. And so I was like, let's just like do this
Yeah.
ourselves. We don't have to like know anyone to really make a music video.
Have you been able to work on any either music videos or movies with music like musicals?
Musicals. I haven't done a musical and I haven't done a music video either. For that I'm kind of glad. I've met a few friends who my cat is screaming, who do music videos in like New York and they are super chaotic apparently. They're just kind of like very run and gun. So they're not
Uh-huh.
at all really what I thought they were. I'm sure it depends on the artist and like what you're doing. But I had a friend who was getting like sued because they did something in the city and there's all this like it caused like a public commotion. And so I'm like, oh, I'm kind of glad I didn't go into music videos because they're very hectic apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it's but things on these movies of the week are pretty hectic though, right?
Yeah, that's the Lifetime Hallmark like scene can get kind of hectic depending on the production team. Um,
Uh-huh.
I've done some that have been made and then sold to Hallmark in Lifetime,
Right, right.
and then I've done a few that have been produced by Hallmark.
Yeah.
And the difference is astounding of the set.
Yeah.
The one I did that was produced by Hallmark was amazing to work on.
Uh-huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, it just had so much money behind it. Like we had everything you could need, ton of
Uh-huh.
budget. I was the set customer on that one. I mean, I had a huge team. We had like
Uh-huh.
a five or six person department, huge amount of costumes.
Yeah.
Like we had a costume semi truck.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty standard for the industry for like films. But a
Right.
lot of the smaller Lifetime and Hallmarks don't have that. They'll have like a
Mm-hmm.
box truck or like a trailer. But this one we had a full semi. We had
Yeah.
a full base camp with trailers for all the talent. Like it was a full like what you'd see on like a Marvel movie, like that build, but for Hallmark. And so that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. That is really interesting. I've heard that I've heard that actually from a couple other people that the experiences, and particularly the craft services on the on the
Oh my
actual
gosh.
Hallmark ones.
The
Yeah.
catering. There's shout out to Son of a Chef in Florida. The catering is so good. It's they have a truck and they pay, it's very expensive, so it's like only higher end productions have them. But it's
Uh-huh.
so good. It's like they make the plate for you and hand it to you hot, and then other things it's like here's random like slop.
Right.
So it just really depends on like what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Um, but I've done, yeah, it's such a spectrum of like what they do, and they can end up on the same channel. And so
Uh-huh.
like, sometimes the lower budget ones turn out better. Like
Yeah.
they turn out better, and they had it was a lot rough going into it, but it might have been a better
Hmm.
script. Or like
Yeah.
sometimes I know the one I did for Hallmark got kind of like chopped up in the edit, so it did.
Oh.
So like we all went to the premiere, and we all were kind of like, oh, like this just doesn't really make any sense anymore. Like this isn't. Like for me, on set, there's like script days. Like in the script, it was this day, and so
Uh-huh.
or that costume that day.
Yeah.
And I was watching the movie, and I was like, that costume and that costume are like different script days, and they're the
Yeah.
same in this edit. Like they did something weird.
Oh, that must be frustrating to see. It just must be hard when it's stuff's like completely out of your control, you know? Like
Yeah.
I would think that would be tough
The
about the job.
continuity, yeah, continuity is almost always sacrificed for the edit. And then
Hmm.
oh, the costumer like messed up and did this, and it's like no, they like might have changed.
Right.
I can't even tell you how many times I've had a director be, and that's the most frustrating is we'll like have shot something and they're like, you know what, I actually don't like this jacket for this scene, so he's gonna take it off. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And like me and the script supervisor will be like, you can't do that. And they're like, no, but I'm gonna.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay. And you just have
Great.
to live with it because it's their movie. At the end
Right.
of the day, it's the director who makes the like final call. And so you're just like, okay, fine. It's okay.
Yeah. Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/hallmarkies. Have you ever gotten to do anything non-modern or fantasy or from the past?
Yes, I did a project in South Carolina that wound up getting shut down from like union issues, but it was
Oh,
in like 2007, and that was so we like,
uh-huh,
started buying everything, and
uh-huh.
that was really cool. And then we had to leave. But then I was doing a movie, so I was like, oh. But I wasn't the designer on that. I was just a set costumer. But
Uh-huh,
I'm doing a movie right now that is um takes place a lot of it takes place on Mount Olympus. So
uh-huh.
it's like Greek gods in it. And so we have togas going on. We've got
Oh,
like
that's fun.
flashbacks. Yeah, there's flashbacks to like all kinds of different things. My only thing is that there's no historical accuracy in it.
Right.
That was a producer choice.
Uh-huh.
That's another thing that I kind of have to live with, is I'm like, okay, like they didn't. It's fine. It's a completely like whimsical, fantastical world.
Mm,
It's been kind of exciting to just kind of not be limited by historical
yeah.
accuracy, even though
Well,
I'm like,
a lot of people have been kind of inspired by Bridgerton in that
yeah,
regard. Like they don't care about historical accuracy at all, but they create like a cool aesthetic.
yeah. So we're doing a whole like kind of fantastical situation, and I remember asking like one of the first meetings, talking to the producer who wrote it, And I was like, like the Greeks didn't really wear togas. They wore like chitons. It's slightly different. And she was like, I don't care about historical accuracy. We're doing whatever we want. And I was like, okay, like if it doesn't bother you, it doesn't bother me, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
so we've done some pretty cool stuff so far with the togas, and that's been exciting to make because it's with the Hallmark and Lifetime world, it's you're not often making any costumes. You're like buying and
Sure,
sourcing.
sure.
You're still
Curating.
designing, yeah, but it's more styling. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's cool to actually design and to build.
Yeah,
Um,
that's cool. So do you have a favorite costume designer that you kind of look up to or are inspired by?
um, there's so many, I feel like. I really like Jenny Bevins. She's incredible. I love Ruth Carter.
She's incredible. Yeah.
Incredible. I
Yeah.
have her book in the next room that has like how it's really cool because it's not a typical design book of like just photos of stuff written by someone else. It's written by her and someone, and it has photos, and it really gets into her design process, and it kind of has like applicable information for people in the field because it's like how she deals with things step by step or how she'll like come to a decision or conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy that. I love her. I also love Catherine Martin. She designs for she's married to and designs for why can't I think of his name? It's El who directed Elvis.
Oh, Baz Luhrmann.
Yes, she's married to
Yeah,
Baz
so
Luhrmann.
she did win for both.
Oh, she
Ruth
did.
Carter.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, she's incredible. But
I love her.
yeah, yeah, for Elvis,
Yeah.
I loved I mean, it was hard because like so many of them were based on actual costumes,
Yeah.
but it was just such an immersive experience.
Because she
Yeah.
does she costume designed that movie and co-production designed.
Mm,
I can't
mm-hmm,
even imagine
mm-hmm.
just the amount of work that goes into costume designing and running the department. I can't even imagine also running the art department, like helping with that too. Because
Yeah.
those are two of the most important departments when it comes to immersion. Like if you have the most beautifully shot movie, but if the sets don't look real or if the costumes are kind of wonky, the viewer and that's the first thing they're gonna notice is this world you've built looks wrong. So for her to run two of the like hardest departments to run is crazy to me. So I think that's super impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And I really
Yeah,
appreciate her.
for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's such this like kind of club of amazing costume designers that we have that like there's very few people who've actually won the best Oscar for costume
Yeah.
design. It's like Jacqueline Duran and Colleen Atwood and
Yeah.
like and it's like it's just this really amazing group of people.
Just yeah, so talented. I know I also
Uh-huh.
follow Salvador Perez. He just did the remake of Hocus Pocus
Uh-huh.
and he really nailed it. Like he made newer costumes but like really connected the old ones and yeah,
Yeah.
that's how you just nail a remake. Like he did
Yeah.
so.
That makes sense. That's true. The costumes were really impressive in that. So what's the process like working with the director? And you said that sometimes it can be challenging, but just as far as they tell you, okay, I need this for this scene, and then do you show them like a drawing, or do you just show them here's what I bought, or like
Yeah.
how does that all work?
So it's so dependent on the director.
Mm-hmm.
I've had directors, so it usually starts with I'll read I'll get the script and I'll read it and I'll go through it and I'll just I read the script a million times through the course of
Yeah.
the project. And so I'll go through it and just kind of think of like their vibe. I'm like, okay, this character just feels like they would dress this way. And then I have a meeting with the director and I pitch that to him and confirm like, do you feel the same? Do you feel like they would wear this? And a lot of times they usually agree because it's usually kind of like, especially for Lifetime and stuff, they're written so specifically. Like they write a character so like in a niche. And I'm like they really fit this like vibe. And the
Mm-hmm.
director oftentimes will be like, yeah, I agree. And then we'll kind of flush out maybe specific things we want to see. Like he's like, I really want to see like a necklace that she's always wearing or like a jacket that she never takes off. Stuff like that. And then I get some directors who are like, I don't care, do whatever you want. I'm like, okay. But then I've had some who are like, have thought about it very thoroughly and they will be like step by step, like, I want this character to wear like this exact thing. And I'm like, okay, like sounds good. I found that normally women directors are much more thorough and they will have a much more specific idea of what they want. And that they will be like, I want everyone to feel a certain way, and they pay a lot more attention to the departments individually. And I feel like unfortunately I've worked with very few female directors, but they all have been like they all go above and beyond and are very specific. One I worked with in July, I think, I worked with Haley Duff on a
Mm-hmm.
Lifetime movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that pre-production process was awesome because we were both just really excited about the project. Um, and it's coming out soon. They changed the name. It was called Dying for a Bid, which I really liked. And then now I think it's called Killing All My Sisters now, and that'll be on Lifetime.
Oh,
And
dying for a what? For a
a
bin?
bid.
Oh, bid.
It was
Oh,
like a
okay, got it.
sorority like sorority rush movie, and then they changed it to Killing All My Sisters,
Ah.
which kind of spoils the plot.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they had some red herrings. Like one of the red herrings was a guy. Like, and so it's like you just threw that out the window, I guess.
That's true. That's a good
But
point.
that's the network, so that we can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that production was great because we just would like talk all the time and like what we text and like, okay, like what do you think about this? And I would just send her images, and
Uh-huh.
then by then I just make a huge like usually it's a like a PowerPoint for each character, and I'll go by I'll do a change breakdown, which is
Mm-hmm.
when I find out they would change at these points in the script. So I'll make a breakdown where I'll be like, these scenes, which is X script day, I think she should wear this. And it'd be like a selection of outfits, sometimes drawings if I can't find an image what I'm looking for. For this Greek movie, everything has been drawings because I've fully designed it from the start.
Uh-huh.
But for things that are like plain clothes, it would be images I found, and I'll find a pair of pants I like and like a shirt I like, and kind of put them all together like a little game. And then I'll make a
Yeah.
color. So like, each character will have a color palette. The movie will have a color palette. And I'll just kind of go from there and be like, this is for this scene. I think they should be wearing this. And then
Mm-hmm.
the director will give notes, and the producers will also give notes.
Yeah.
We'll keep flushing out ideas until we find the final look, and then I'll shop all of that, and then we'll do a fitting.
Yeah. So if you do have to construct something, and say
Mhm.
you need something with particular logo or particularly like how does that process work?
It's usually really collaborative with the art department. I work
Mm-hmm.
with props the most because there's a lot of things that fall under props, like watches and are props.
Mm-hmm.
And like sometimes jewelry can be props if it's interacted with.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times like any bag is a prop. So it's like it will go with the costume, but it's a prop. So any graphic I usually have to get from the art department. So I have to be like,
Mm-hmm.
either it's in the script, so they're already going to make it, or it's something I have thought of and run through production, and I have to ask them to make it. So, on the Dying for a Bid one, a main thing was it was filmed at a fake college, so we
Mm-hmm.
had to have a logo for the
Right.
college.
Yeah.
So I we had to go through that. We wound up calling it Rothmore, which is the name of the last name of the producer was Roth.
Ah.
It became Rothmore, and it made like a big seal, and I cut it out with a Cricut vinyl. Sometimes if I had more time I'd get it made, but a lot of times for those we just cut it out with vinyl and like heat press it on. But that one we found this fantastic place called Greek Threads, and they custom made all this merch for us for the fake fraternities and sororities in the movie. And we made like a custom EKU shirt, or that was the real university, I think. But we had like the sorority letters. We had all this custom stuff made by this great like local company in Kentucky, and it was really cool. But yeah, it's often with the art department, and then we'll have to like make it from there.
Mm-hmm.
And that one got really
Yeah.
cool because me and Haley just kind of got together, and we're like, let's make a backstory for this sorority. And so I made a seal for it, and I was like, I think these are their colors, and I was like, this is their backstory. Like this is their jewel. They all wear like a pearl.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just like making stuff up, and we were like, yeah, like so we just made a whole backstory that you don't even see in the movie.
Yeah. So do you know like how to like sew if you needed to? Is that something you had to learn how to do or
I did have to learn how to do it.
yeah.
Most costume designers never have to sew
Okay.
because I mean, I think most know how, I'd say.
Uh-huh.
Um, because when you start, the smaller you start, you're making it all yourself. Like on this Greek movie, I'm designing it and then I'm making it.
Yeah.
Versus on like Elvis, like she would design something
Right.
and then you hand it off, and there's a cutter who all they do is cut the fabric, and there's a draper who all they do is drape the fabric on a mannequin,
Wow.
like a seamstress. So it's like each step is a different person. Versus the smaller you go, it's like me just doing all of it. And so
Yeah.
So I did have to learn how to sew, and I've been like really fine-tuning it on this movie I'm
Mhm.
doing right now because I'm
Mhm.
just sewing all the time.
Welcome to the Pilot Podcast. My name is BJ.
And my name is Me Too, and we promise this promo is worth it, so please don't skip ahead.
We're two judgy friends who put our judgmental skills to work for you. We review the pilot episodes of new and popular shows and shows that our listeners request to answer your question, should I watch this?
Look, a lot of us are spending a lot more time at home, and yes, we should be reading and trying new projects and enriching ourselves, but does anything beat binging a great show?
Let us take the guesswork out of deciding what your next show will be. Tune in to The Pilot Podcast at thepilotpodcast.com.
So do you work with the hair and makeup team as well in crafting the overall look?
Yes, depending. I've worked a lot with them on this current movie because there's a lot of crowns involved,
Mm.
and that's kind of a prop, kind of part of the costume, and also they have to apply it.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of things where I have to I'll hand them off to hair and makeup. Like there's like a hat in the script. I'll be like, they have to wear this hat, and I'll give it to them because you're really not supposed to touch other departments. So like there's be I could be like dirtying somebody up, like their costume up, so they got into a fight, and I have to like make them dirty. The minute I get to their skin, it's no longer my department. I can't touch it. So
Oh,
then hair
interesting.
will come in. So we do have a lot of conversations where they'll be like, how dirty are you gonna make her? Like how many wounds? So like if I did a gunshot wound once where I like burnt the shirt so it had like residue, bloodied the hole and like bloodied it all up, but then the actual wound was hair and makeup. So we had to like completely collaborate on placement and like how much blood. And that's also a big network thing. Is like you can only have a certain amount of blood for TV.
Right.
So it's like on something, it's like, oh, gunshot wound would normally have a ton of blood, but it's like a tiny drop because on Lifetime or Hallmark, you can't have that much blood. It's like it has to be a certain level of family friendly.
Right. That makes sense. Even in features, they have to be real careful because that's the big determinant, which is insane to me. But the big determinant between PG-13 and R is how much blood.
Yep.
For violence, at least.
Yeah.
Was it hard getting the costumes together for Christmas at the Amish Bakery? Like
Oh
getting
my
those
God.
Amish looks?
Oh my God. That one was so hard. I think by the time I signed on, it was like super close to shooting. And we had to get these Amish clothes, and we shot in Kentucky, and I live in Florida.
Right.
And so I had to drive to Kentucky with like all my gear. And there's like there's a lot of politics with tax incentives on like you have to spend a certain amount of money locally.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, where am I gonna buy Amish clothes? And we were in the middle of nowhere. Like the nearest store was Walmart, and any big box doesn't count towards your spending incentive. Like, it has to be locally.
Oh, okay.
But there are no stores. Like we are in rural farmland, Kentucky. There was nothing to shop. The nearest town was, I think, Lexington. It was like 2 hours away. So like if you need anything fast, you're not getting it. But I found some like real Amish store. They have a huge Amish population there, and I found some real Amish stores. So for all the men, they're wearing like genuine Amish clothes.
Yeah.
So that was cool. But for the women, they don't sell women's Amish clothes made. They sell men's, but they don't sell the women's make their own. And it was so crazy to me. I was like, that's so crazy. And I would drive past Amish families and be like, should I just go knock on their door and be like, can I buy your dresses off of you? But so, and I also really early in my career, I worked as a PA on, oh my gosh, I worked as a PA on Breaking Amish on,
Oh, okay. On
so I
your
worked with Amish
reality.
people. Yeah, so I worked with real Amish people, and I was texting one of them, like, "Hey," who's obviously no longer Amish if he's texting, but I was
Right.
like, "Hey," like, and I was running looks past him, being like, "Does this look Amish?"
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, because it was also the producers, they want Amish, but they don't. They don't want it to look, because Amish is very, they have a whole thing about vanity, and they don't want, like, they don't have mirrors, they don't cut their hair, they don't wear makeup. And so they want it to be Amish enough to pass, but they don't want the look of that like baggy look of Amish clothing.
Right. Because the Amish, they don't have zippers, right?
No, they don't have zippers. Most women don't have buttons.
Yeah.
Some
It's just a dress, right?
Yeah, they pin them with like these like, they're not like really safety pins. It's like a special type of dress pin. And the men sometimes have buttons. Their pants usually do. But yeah, none of that. They use suspenders instead of belts. And so what I wound up doing was getting these dresses off of Amazon that had the same look, but they were fitted. So I called it Hollywood Amish the entire time we shot the movie because it had the look, but it was obviously not actually Amish. And then they came with this like little belt sash, and I used that on the back of the dresses to hide the zippers so that it looked like it was just a paneling of the dress. Yeah, was like, and then we bought real Amish aprons and real Amish the little hair coverings. And so those were all made by actual Amish people. We also bought a lot of Amish food while we were there because it's delicious.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to kind of give up again on the historical accuracy. Kind of had to give up on that because the producers they don't want that true look. They want a Hollywood like glamorized version of it. But the men were spot on. They were wearing Amish clothes. But it was definitely stressful for like a week. I was like, I'm gonna do this. I was like, I was just driving around. I wound up calculating it, and it was 6 hours that I drove around in the same like 10-mile radius of like Amish backcountry, trying to find like fabric or just anything to make these Amish dresses. It was crazy.
Because I know that I've talked to Galadriel Steinman, who's done a bunch of these Amish movies, and her saying like that how like hard it is sometimes to get into the dresses because there's no zippers or buttons.
Yep.
Yeah. They have to like completely go over you.
Yeah. And to get it to look the same way each time for continuity, it's super hard because it's like if it's something that's too big for them and it's pinned smaller, might not lay the same way.
Yeah.
Like I did a movie that we just kind of finished that it followed an Indian family, and so we had to do a lot of saris. And getting a sari to lay the exact same way for something that cuts off was very difficult. But
that makes sense.
Yeah, but I've been able to use that like learning experience to make the togas because they're very similar how they like. So I'm like, the togas really started out as saris that I've then like modified to look Greek.
Yeah. Well, I would think too, it would be hard to keep the clothes from looking wrinkled.
Yeah.
With like things that are supposed to be kind of draped. Because I just saw like an amazing production of Pride and Prejudice. But the one like nitpick that I would have is that with the lights, this was a theatrical production. With the lights, it just exposed like every wrinkle and every on this like these kind of like crinoline type fabrics.
Yeah.
And so it just made me kind of have a new appreciation for in a movie set how you hardly ever see like wrinkles in fabric. Just keeping them pressed. It's got to be hard.
It's constant usually.
Yeah.
It's like, and a lot of times we won't starch it because then if it does get a wrinkle, it's harder to get out.
Yeah.
But that was something I learned super early under this amazing supervisor named Jules, who I first worked for. I'm so lucky to have worked under her. She's been around forever. And she was like, don't starch anything. Like it'll be harder to get out. And it's also hard because once say they'll rush us in the morning, like get the talent ready, like get them through the works. And we'll get them dressed and they're going to sit around on set for hours because they're like, oh, we want to change the lighting setup. So now the actors are sitting and holding. And that's when they start to wrinkle. It's like you've steamed it beautifully. It's a gorgeous dress. And then now they're sitting in a chair for 2 hours. So it's like, and you can't steam it on the person. So you have to be like, hey, we have to take it off the actress. And then the team in charge of making the production run smoother are never happy about people getting out of costume because they're like, no, they're ready. We want to shoot them.
Right.
But for like lunch, I'm like, I really want to get the actors out of costume for lunch. And they're like, oh, but then like after lunch, it takes longer. I'm like, right. But if they stay in the costume, it's going to take way longer. So it's like, we gotta preemptively get them out of that costume.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. You don't even think if everybody's doing their job, so I can't remember who was it said you only notice the boom mic in the shot in a bad movie.
Yeah.
And other things you don't notice. But it is true that that for the most part these things you don't notice because you're so caught up in the story and the characters and it just all these things that we as viewers don't even think about.
Yeah, I've had a few actors, they'll be like, they'll change something continuity-wise, or they'll do something, and the actors or the director will always say, if they notice that, we're doing something wrong.
Yeah,
right. If that small of a detail gets noticed, then the movie is bad. Then you made a bad movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
definitely talked about. But yeah, the rom-coms, that's one of the notes from often Hallmark is that they can't even have like a crease. Like Hallmark movies, they are really strict about what they're wearing and how it's presented. Like they have to
Yeah.
be perfect.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hearty, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Well, and they're really strict about colors too, like what colors they want the actors in, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
color palette between a Hallmark and a Lifetime are so just opposites.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lifetime's always like dirty and grungy and like I get to dirty stuff up and like some things we won't steam on purpose, like they're supposed to be wrinkled.
Yeah.
And then Lifetime it's like it does not matter what they're doing, it has to be perfect. We had a guy who came off of in the script he even says it. It's like a 2-mile or 5-mile run. And he's like jogging, not a drop of sweat. We weren't allowed to get him wet. We weren't allowed to do anything to him. So he just comes off like beautiful. Like I just ran 10 miles. And you're like in Florida, in Miami. Like, okay.
Yeah.
In the summer. Like it's like and you're beautiful. It's
Right.
sure.
Would you say that the costumes for Amish Bakery are the hardest that you've ever designed?
Oh, probably not. They were just hard to source. Like it was just really hard. They were easy to design. It was just so hard to get my hands on them.
Uh-huh.
But I did love how they turned out. The movie was super fun to film because we really were in the middle of nowhere. Like there's like we stayed at these like cabins that were on a river or they're on a lake, and it was the entire crew. It was off season and it was cold. It snowed. I'm not used to snow. And yeah, we were in these cabins, just the entire crew. So it was like summer camp kind of.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the other movie I did in Kentucky. We were at a college and the college put us up because it was summer.
Uh-huh.
We were all in a dorm.
Yeah.
And that was great. Like we were like, this is so fun. And like a lot of film people didn't go to college and they're like, it's great. Let's go in college. Like it's so fun. But,
what would you say is the hardest film you've designed for?
I would say one of the hardest was I would say probably I did the +1, which was with Ashanti and Cedric the Entertainer.
Uh-huh.
And it was the hardest because I had massive budget constrictions for what I was doing. Like it was an ensemble cast. It was with people who like Cedric's been in the industry for forever. And it's people who are just used to a higher standard of things. And we were filming at this gorgeous resort, but my budget was limited to $2,000.
Oh my gosh.
And it was a wedding in the movie.
Oh my gosh. You're like, that's like one suit, maybe.
Yeah, that's not even a wedding dress.
No, yeah.
But yeah, it was insane.
Did you just have to rent clothes?
Yeah, that's the only movie I've ever come in over budget. And my producer was like, yeah, that's fair. And I actually got, my cousin owns Moliere Bridal in Oklahoma City, and they have like gorgeous dresses. And I called her and I was like, I need wedding dresses. And she just mailed me a bunch of the floor designs. And so that's what Ashanti wound up in, was one of the dresses that she had in her store. And
that's lucky.
It was so lucky. I was like, I told my producer, I'm like, you have no idea how lucky you are.
Yeah. Wow, $2,000. That's crazy.
$2,000. Huge cast. Like we had Michelle Hurd, who's from Star Trek Picard. She's the vice president of SAG. Like we had all these things. I'm like, all these people who I'm like, this is crazy that we have these limitations with this talent.
That's a wild story. Wow. Well, so for the Soulmate Search, that's the most recent one that I saw that you did. That one looked pretty fun. Or wait, yeah, it's the Soulmate Search, right?
Yeah.
Or Love on Retreat. Did I write down wrong?
I think Soulmate Search probably has come out. I think they're both coming out now, which is crazy because we filmed them like 2 years ago.
Well, and they're really strict about colors too, like what colors they want the actors in, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
color palette between a Hallmark and a Lifetime are so just opposites.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lifetime's always like dirty and grungy, and like I get to dirty stuff up, and like some things we won't steam on purpose, like they're supposed to be wrinkled. And
Yeah.
then Lifetime, it's like it does not matter what they're doing; it has to be perfect. We had a guy who came off of a run. In the script, he even says it. It's like a 2 mile or 5 mile run, and he's like jogging, not a drop of sweat. We weren't allowed to get him wet. We weren't allowed to do anything to him, so he just comes off like beautiful. Like I just ran 10 miles. And you're like in Florida, in Miami. Like, okay.
Yeah.
In the summer. Like it's like and you're beautiful. It's
Right.
sure.
Would you say that the costumes for Amish Bakery are the hardest that you've ever designed?
Oh, probably not. They were just hard to source. Like it was just really hard. They were easy to design. It was just so hard to get my hands on them.
Uh-huh.
But I did love how they turned out. The movie was super fun to film because we really were in the middle of nowhere. Like there's like we stayed at these like cabins in that were on a river or they're on a lake, and it was the entire crew. It was off season and it was cold. It snowed. I'm not used to snow. And yeah, we were in these cabins, just the entire crew. So it was like summer camp kind of.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the other movie I did in Kentucky. We were at a college, and the college put us up because it was summer.
Uh-huh.
We were all in a dorm.
Yeah. And
that was great. Like we were like, this is so fun. And like a lot of film people didn't go to college, and they're like, it's great. Let's go to college. Like it's so fun. But
what would you say is the hardest film you've designed for?
I would say one of the hardest was I would say probably I did the +1, which was with Ashanti and Cedric the Entertainer.
Uh-huh.
And it was the hardest because I had massive budget constrictions for what I was doing. Like it was an ensemble cast. It was with people who like Cedric's been in the industry for forever. And it's people who are just used to a higher standard of things. And we were filming at this gorgeous resort, but my budget was limited to $2,000.
Oh my gosh.
And it was a wedding in the movie.
Oh my gosh. You're like, that's like one suit maybe.
Yeah, that's not even a wedding dress.
No, yeah.
But yeah, it was insane.
Did you just have to rent clothes?
Yeah, that's the only movie I've ever come in over budget. And my producer was like, yeah, that's fair. And I actually got my cousin owns Moliere Bridal in Oklahoma City, and they have like gorgeous dresses. And I called her and I was like, I need wedding dresses. And she just mailed me a bunch of the floor designs. And so that's what Ashanti wound up in, was one of the dresses that she had in her store. And
that was lucky.
It was so lucky. I was like, I told my producer, I'm like, you have no idea how lucky you are.
Yeah. So recently we had the Soulmate Search come to TV, and so that one looked like that would be a lot of fun, and it's nice you had some of the same actors who had been in other projects that you work with, and that's got to be nice, at least that you kind of know, okay, this is what they what they look like, their sizes, everything.
That I love working with the same actors. Okay, my cat is screaming. I love working with the same actors. He wants to join.
Hi, Katie.
Especially king of rom-coms himself, Jonathan Stoddard.
Yes.
He's one of my good friends. I did one of the first features I designed. I didn't design the whole thing. I took it over after they had let go of the designer, and he was on it. And I was on it the first couple of days as a day player, and he was like, "Kelsey, you gotta stay. Like you gotta stay." And I just met him. And then I came back and he was like, "Thank God you're back." And then after that, we did a run of movies together. And I think we did, I don't even know how many. I think I've done more movies with Jonathan Stoddard than without.
Uh-huh.
Like, he's just great. We started calling him McSleepy on set because people always say he looks like McDreamy from Grey's Anatomy. And he can sleep anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, he can fall asleep standing up. And that was my first movie with
Well, I
Alex.
mean, he must because he has so many projects.
He's the busiest person
He
I
has
know.
15 upcoming projects on his IMDb. 15.
He's insane because I did a movie with
Like,
him.
you must sleep standing up. Like, what?
It's insane. He flew in, I don't remember what movie it was, but he flew in from India and landed and then was on set.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? I would be passed out for a week. Like, I don't know. Like, how are you here? He moves faster than anyone I've ever seen. I don't get how he does it. I don't know how he gets the time or the energy to do it. It's the naps.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's crazy. Yeah, I love him. He's the best. And that was my first movie with Alex Harris, and I've done I think 3 with her now.
Yeah.
2 or 3.
Because there was So My Search and then Amish Wedding.
Yep. And then I think she did another one. I don't know, but I love Alex. Yeah. She's amazing.
Yeah. I loved talking to both of them. They were absolutely wonderful.
They're both such great energy on set together. Like when we have a movie with either of them on set, it's just better because they're just bringing such like calm energy, and they're really nice and they're calm. And it is great because like Jonathan, I got his sizes for Love on Retreat, or I think is that what it's called now? It's that also has been names.
But I think that is the US name, Love on Retreat. Yeah.
Because the name that we get on the script is almost never the final name.
Right, sure.
So
usually a downgrade. Usually the original, when I hear the original name, I'm like, oh, it was way better.
Yeah, almost always.
Yeah.
But yeah, they both did he was on that one, and I literally copy and paste his sizes from that like cast board onto every cast board. And I'm like, have your sizes changed? No, cool. Like, great. And I know his closet. I'm like on the lower budgets, I'll have actors, which I don't like to do, but you kind of have to. Like, you'll have them bring some pieces. And I'm like, yeah, bring that one suit that I like that checkered one, and I'm like, and bring that tie. Like, I have the closet categorized in my head. Like, bring
I'll start to look for the repeating ties.
Yeah, look for his. He's always in a maroon button down, and look for it's like a blue checkered suit. It's kind of 70s.
I will. I'll look for Jonathan's suit now.
It's in every movie. I think he got it. He got it in a movie that took place in the 70s, I think, and he in I think every movie since. I'm like, just keep wearing it. It's great. We love it.
Yeah, for sure.
And the networks always want the same thing for the guys. The girls kind of change movie to movie. But for the guys, every time I try to get creative, they're like, no, we want a Henley with jeans and a flannel. Or we want a suit. Like, it depends on the character. There's the businessman and there's the like hometown guy.
It's true. You almost never get a tuxedo. Every once in a while, and I love it when they do. When they throw us a tuxedo, it's a treat. But yeah, very rarely. Very rarely.
He got a half tuxedo on what was it called? Oh, it was Baked with a Kiss. It kept the name. He had like a semi tuxedo on that one. He had like a velvet tux top on that one, but that's as far as close as you get. It's just Henleys. We have my sister and I, Alyssa. I have her on every movie. We have a shirt that was from the Hallmark movie I did that was paid for by Hallmark, and it's a rag and bone blue Henley, and it's like a $400 Henley, but I got it from the movie for free, and we purposely put it into every movie, and we call it Old Faithful. Or Old Reliable, one of the two. And it's in every movie. So now, like, look out for that one. It's like a distressed kind of, like navy Henley. It's usually on Jonathan. But it's in every single, it's like our Easter egg. It's in every movie.
Yeah. That's going to be fun. This is going to add a new layer to watching these movies now. Yeah,
we always sneak in something that you see again. It's super fun.
Yeah, very cool. Well, we like to end our interviews with some fun get to know you questions.
Okay.
So first is, what is the best ice cream flavor?
Ooh, that's a hot thing. There's a place by me that makes a cookies and cream flavor where the vanilla ice cream is cookies and cream ice cream with cookies and cream in it, and that is my favorite ice cream.
Oh, wow, that sounds good.
So good.
What's your favorite color?
Right now I say green.
Okay, good. What music are you into?
Big Taylor Swift gal these days.
Which era is your favorite?
Folklore.
Okay, good.
Love the moody folklore.
What is your go-to date night food?
Ooh, I would say either if we're eating out, like maybe sushi or like a taco of some sort.
Good choices. Sushi is a great choice for a date because you're not going to get messy. It's
quick bite.
Yeah, you just like quick, it's dainty, it's yummy. And you also get to see like how brave your date is. I think.
True.
Smart. Yeah, yeah.
If they don't like crab rangoons, it's an immediate no. That's great. Any like Asian place that has that is a good test.
It's telling, yeah, for sure. All right. What is your go-to date night activity if you're going out and doing something?
I feel like usually just something that you get to talk a lot
Mm-hmm.
and like an activity. Like I've never
Yeah.
been to Topgolf, but Topgolf would be a good example.
Yeah, that
Like
would be
just
good
something
one.
like that, like an activity that you can like kind of laugh. Usually I feel like I always do putt putt because it's like a fun game, like mini golf.
Mhm.
It's a great
Yeah.
it's a good time.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Which do you like better, dogs or cats?
Cats.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we know the answer to this
Yeah.
one. Okay, which do you like better, beaches or mountains?
Beaches. I love the mountains, but I'm a beach girl.
Yeah, same. All right, which is your favorite holiday to celebrate?
Halloween.
Ah, well, that makes
Costumes.
sense.
I
Costume
I've always
designer.
loved Halloween.
Do you have any epic costumes for Halloween?
Yeah, of course. Done so many. If my go-to is a vampire, if I'm out of ideas, but I get
Oh,
crazy with
okay.
it.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorites as a kid is as I was Raven from Teen Titans, like with the gray, like a whole body
Nice.
painted gray, and I had a cape. And I was just Emma from Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. That movie's phenomenal.
Oh,
And I
nice.
had the dress she wore in the movie, and I was like, "Oh, that's what I'm gonna be for Halloween," and it was great.
Wow, that's cool. All right, last question. What is your favorite Hallmark or romantic movie?
Ooh, You've Got Mail.
Yeah, good one.
Love that
And
movie.
great costumes in that.
Fantastic costumes. Any
I
of
mean, I
those,
heard outfits are the stuff of dreams.
phenomenal.
Great. All right, very good. You did it. You answered all the questions. Well, if people want to follow you on social media, all that fun stuff, how do they do that?
I only have Instagram, and it is Kelso Costumes.
Great. We'll put that in the description. People can definitely follow you. And thanks so much for coming. This was so interesting. I
course.
really loved hearing this behind the scenes. It's very fun.
Great. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah. I'd like to thank Kelsey for coming on the podcast. This was so much fun to get to talk with her. I really enjoyed it. Make sure you're following me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast, the Hallmarkies Pod, Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. Really appreciate that. And check out the Patreon and merch store. And again, thanks to Kelsey. This was so much fun. And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.